It's about there, so I've got all this room here. Okay. I'm a little camera shy too, so this is getting me out of my bubble. So here's the deal. We're going to multiply two-digit numbers. First thing you need, so this is the way it works to get your free meal or something. I find it works well. A number of students have had this work. You go arrange to meet your friends at happy hour. Most of you are over 21, right? And if you don't, that's okay, because I go to happy hour for the appetizers. I don't drink anymore, and the world is a more thankful place that I don't. So explore things, but when you realize it's not for you, you better, or that you're not as good of a person when you're doing certain. That's what happened to me. So anyway, what you do is you go and hopefully, go ahead. I have nothing against other people drinking. Let them have their first round. Let them have their second round. This trick works better if they've had a round or two. Okay, so they don't catch on to it. And what you need to do is just make sure someone has a calculator. Nowadays, it's real easy because everyone's got a cell phone, right? So, so will someone, or maybe a couple of you, check me on these multiplications, because I'm going to do them so fast and so amazing. You're just going to look at it and say, really? He's getting them right? I will get them all right because I practiced a lot. But so someone, we need a class monitor, and you need someone to do that too. Okay. What it is it's two. We're just going to multiply two-digit numbers. They will give you the first two-digit number. You get to choose a second one. That's where the trick is, and you'll see. And then you'll do the multiplication, and you'll blow them away. You'll do it 2 or 3 times, and then you'll stop because you don't want them to catch on to the pattern of what you're actually doing, and you get your free meal. And then if you want to, you can share it with them. I had one student who didn't share it with them, and he got 3 free meals out of the same group of people. This is great. Had one lady went to her neighbor, came back home with 2 bottles of wine. So whatever you're into, this can work. It's a great trick. So two-digit multiplication. All I need is nothing up my sleeves, not very long anyway. Someone give me a two-digit number. 12. Okay. So I'm going to take 12, and I get to choose a second number that multiplies by. Let me just check real quick. That's showing up. So I'm going to multiply 12 times 18. And let's see, that's really easy. 216. Right? So I got it faster than the calculator can get it. You got someone else checking me on this? Yep, it's right, isn't it? But that was an easy number, right? I probably memorized this, right? 12 times 18. I'm a math teacher, probably memorized. Somebody give me something harder. 56. Okay. So you give me 56. I get to choose a second number. The second number I'm going to choose is 54. Why don't I just choose 1 or something, right? 56 times 54 is like 3,024. Right? Okay. Now you're going, what's going on here? What's this guy doing, right? It is a trick, and you're going to learn how to do this. It did take me a little bit of practice. I messed it up a few times in the beginning, but I've learned how to do it and put a little showmanship into it, and you'll get your free meal. Anyone catching on to what's going on? How am I? Okay, watch how I choose a second number. So look at this second number. Look at this second number. Now somebody give me another two-digit number. Any two-digit number. 43. So we're going to go with 43. Can anyone guess? What do you think I'm going to put for my second number? 40 is, you got the right. Notice the first digits are always the same. So that's the first part of the trick. No. No. Look at the last 2 digits here. But this is odd.
45 or 47.
Why 47?
7 and 3 is 10.
That's why. 2 and 8 are 10. 6 and 4 are 10. And you're going to see as we go through this comes from India. And in India, they were the ones who developed the mathematics we use. I always tell my mom I'm going to teach Indian math. I didn't realize it was Indian math from India because we're Native Americans, so that was kind of. But anyway, I'm teaching math from India. It's because they developed the 10-digit system or the base 10 system, and so when these match up, this works perfectly. Now notice I didn't take 1 times 1. I took 1 times 2. I didn't take 5 times 5. I took 5 times 6. So this comes from a sutra. It's called by one more than before. when the numbers work this way, I multiply the front numbers by one more than before. So 5 times 6, I had to remember to do that. The back numbers, I just multiply them. 6 times 4 is 24. But notice I don't do that first because otherwise people pick up the pattern too quickly. Even after a drink or two, they'll still pick up the pattern. Uh, but I start with the beginning and make it look like I'm thinking of the answer from the beginning. That's the trick. You practice a little bit and it'll work. But I do 5 times 6, 30, 6 times 4, 24. But in my mind, that's why I say 3,024. I make it look like I'm thinking. So what are we going to do here? We're going to do 4 times 5. It's 20, but we don't say 20. We say 2,000, and we draw it out because while we're saying it, we're thinking of what is 3 times 7, 3,021. Yes.
The 4, you said the 4, instead of 4 times 4, 4 times 5. I'm
Yes.
still a little confused at that part.
Just one more than before. That's all it is.
One more than before. Okay.
Yeah. So if I gave you the number of 75, what would be the number I multiply that by? 75, because 5 plus 5 is 10. And the first two numbers have to be the same. But when I multiply this, I think 7 times 8. Oh, I forgot. Oh, yeah, thank you. 5,600. And then while I'm doing that, what's 5 times 5 is 25. And it's right. It only works with this special. Now, if I had 75 times 74, it's not even going to be close to this. It's going to be wrong. So it only works in special cases. But it makes you feel, it made me feel smart. At least smart enough that I went and talked to the fourth graders. I showed them this. I didn't show them how it was done. They thought I was like a genius. And I felt the smartest I ever felt. So this is something, take it with you. And part of it is, as we're going to build on, we're going to see that a lot of times, well, in just about everything in life, there's a hard way to do it and there's an easy way, right? They always say, do you want to do it the hard way or do you want to do it the easy way? The problem is in math class, we usually teach you the hard way. Everything is done the hard way, but we'll teach you one way and say, oh, it's only one way, but it's hard. Yeah, but it will always work. In India, they took a different approach. They said, let's find all the easy ways and we'll learn 50 easy ways rather than one hard way. And they're not quite 50, but there's 5 or 6 different ways to actually multiply with these ancient Indian methods. These go 3,000 to 5,000 years ago and have been rediscovered around the turn of the century and are used in various places. Russia, there's different things, but it's called Vedic math from India. I've got a PowerPoint. We'll talk about it and share it. But that's what I wanted to hook. Is that kind of stuff that you heard about? Okay.
Yes.
That's what we do. Yes.
What about China? Does China have an approach towards math?
Well, China, they had their mathematics was very practical. It was a concrete mathematics, and it was based on a merchant culture. Because they traveled, they sold, they had the abacus,
Right.
so they had ways for calculating very quickly. And again, the abacus is really based on using the hand, and they were connected to India, so they used the base 10 mathematics. You're going to see. I'm going to show you from a language perspective. The mathematics we use came from Asia. And Asian languages are perfectly in tune with that mathematics. And it all came from how they looked at the hand. We're going to see that the English language is still a beautiful language. It's a great thing. It had its own mathematics, though, because the people who started using the languages actually go all the way back to Babylon. From English, they looked at their hands differently and they counted differently. And we'll look at same with Spanish, Italian, French. But there's a few different ethnic groups that actually didn't use a base 10. And so now what does it do? We're English speakers, whether that was goes how far back in our history or not, whether we're just now learning in English, but we're learning our language of English is not the same language our math was created with. So that's going to that causes some of us problems. We'll talk about that. Do you want to know about the class yet? Or do you want to just know about this stuff? Sure. Okay. This is the boring stuff, but I'll go through it. Maybe I'll go through it a little bit quicker because let's see, we got that up there. So I just have to switch there you go. Okay. So we'll go through and then we'll come back to this. We'll pick up the story from the beginning. Okay. So we've got the syllabus. It's got my contact information. If you find any errors, there are some possible, because what I do is I start with one class. I started with my 141 class, did a syllabus, and then I start with that same template, and then I start changing things, and sometimes I forget to change things. Actually, on the purple page inside your schedule, you'll see it says Math 141. That's what the white page is for. It's a correction. So I caught one of the errors, but it could be possible I don't catch them all. Okay. We've got a course description. You're supposed to have finished 082 or 081 or something, or placed into this class. We'll figure you're fine. Course objectives, these are the things we're going to do. What we really study is we're going to study algebra and the algebra of straight lines, okay, linear equations. And that prepares you for going one of two ways, either into Math 121, which is intermediate algebra. Those of you who are taking like a science-based program, maybe you're going into psychology, business. So that's your route. Others of you will take, like maybe if you're going sociology or some of the humanities or journalism, a lot of majors, nursing, you'll go to 141. So from this class is where you'll split off into two different math paths. If you're into the Math 141, that's the end of the road. That's usually all you have to take. So I'll work with both sides, but if you're going towards a science type degree and you know it, and you know you're going on to college algebra and maybe calculus, you're going to want to spend a little bit more time learning to manipulate some of these things. And if you're going the other course, it's more a mathematics of life, and we don't have to work as hard on it as we might. We just sort of have to understand it at a level. So there's kind of two groups that we're serving here, and we'll make sure that works for you. So today, let's see. Oh, required materials. So I think about 4 of you, maybe 5 of you have already logged in, have already set up your Math091 account. So I sent out an announcement. How many of you got the announcement? Email?
I know it.
Last night, yeah. Okay. So I sent it out through Canvas. So hopefully that's one of the things we want to make sure is that you're getting, if I send an email through Canvas, that you get it. Okay, so because that's how I'll send everything. When I'm finished with class today, I'll take this video. It's on my hard drive now. I'll upload it to YouTube, and then I'll put a link to it in Canvas. And then I'll send an announcement out, and then you'll know it's available. Okay. And pass this over. Thanks. And what's your name? Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. What's your last name?
Brenton.
Brenton.
B-R-I-N-T-O-R.
Okay. You're not, but because I pulled this up yesterday, so we'll get you checked in. Good. So anyway, over time, so kind of what your goal between now and Monday is to make sure everything's working on technology. When we go into, I'll show you Canvas. There's a place where the announcements get stored, so you just go to announcements. So if you're not getting them, just check the announcement place, and that's where I put a lot of it, the information. But if you get the link where it comes to your email, that would be best. So because I sent out the syllabus and I sent out the instructions for getting into Math091, which is our free system. So those are the things that are really required is access to your Canvas and then Math091. There are two separate programs. Canvas is sort of hosted through the college. It's a sponsored one. Math091 is a separate program. It's actually hosted currently up at Paradise Valley, but it's a third-party vendor and they're going to move it to the cloud, and so they're doing all this stuff. And the Math091 is where basically the textbook and the homework are. Canvas is going to be more the administrative side. It's where the official gradebook will be kept, and then any video links and stuff, and anything that happens throughout class.
So the grading stuff will be kept in Math091 and everything, or Canvas?
Canvas.
Canvas, okay.
There is a grade book in Math091, but think about that as more yourself, because when I go through the grading here in a moment, you'll kind of see why, maybe. Okay. So first of all, there is a workbook packet, which is available in textbook store about $25 or something. 22, even cheaper. Good. It's everything that's printed out. Everything that's in there is also available electronically within Canvas. No, Math091. So I get myself confused. It's all in Math091. It's in the textbook. So we've got it all there. So you have the option to buy it or not buy it. If you find that you're one that likes to print things out and write on the paper and you do it a lot, $22 is a good deal. If you print them out, at least if you print them on campus, you get charged 10 cents for each copy. You get a $25 account to start off with for registering, but that'll get used up pretty quick if you print out all the pages. But some of you might take a look and you might not print out all the pages. You might just print out a few. So again, it's up to you. One of the things you'll learn in this class, a lot of things you'll ask me, do I have to do this? And I'll say, you don't have to do anything, but you have to do what you need to do to learn. So part of this is you're going to learn what style, what things work for you. Okay. So you don't have to get the textbook, the workbook, but it's many students find it helpful. Like some students says, no, you got to start telling people they got to get it. It's so helpful. I said, it's helpful for you. Great. But I've got other students who, they never used it. So it's one of those things. It's available there. You might want to wait and see. And if you start printing off a lot, you say, well, maybe I better go get it. Or if you know yourself, I'm just going to go get it because I would print all this stuff anyway. Okay. And then a calculator, a TI-84 is depending upon your path. If you're going to the sciences and stuff, the 84 is good to start using now because you'll be using it in your Math121 class. If you're not, any basic calculator will do. We're not really going to use the graphing feature of the calculator until the very end. And there'll be ways that we can get around without using it. So it's not required. It's just recommended. Okay. That will work just perfectly. Yes, that will work good. I don't even have my TI-84, but if you got a graphing calculator, if you want to use the graphing calculator, you can rent them for $10 a semester from the Media Center. Okay. And that basically pays for batteries and stuff. So we'll get that all settled, but in this particular class, the calculator is not real crucial. I mean, having even the phone calculator will work here, so forth. Okay, so what we'll do is today you're getting 40 points for what we're doing as an introductory activity. We'll start into the learning activities, and it looks like, let's see, there must be 12 of them, or 11, 12, I guess. So I'm giving you up to 30 points over here. Basically, and this is how it works. I think this is backwards. Well, let me show you this in Math091, but basically each unit that you do is worth 30 points. So you do all 12 units, you get 360 points, plus the 40 points you earned today, you're up to 400. We have 3 multi-unit exams. So that means, and we'll look at Math091 because it's kind of laid out there a little bit better, but we take, I think it's units 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have a test on them. And then once that test is done, that is all that content. We're not going to test you on that content again. There is no comprehensive final at the end that tests you on everything. So once we've gotten those 4 down, that's it. We move on to the next 2 or 3 units. We test you on that. Boom, you got that down. That's done. We don't have to worry about it again. And then the final exam is just the last 3 or 4 units that we do. It's not comprehensive. We're not going to come back and test you at the beginning. And I think that's one of the issues we have had in math is that we always test you on everything at the end. And you learned it in pieces and you were fine when you learned it, but then now I got to remember what happened at the beginning. And in some classes that makes sense because you got to put it all together. What we found is that this is, depending upon where you go, the little pieces you learn may or may not need to be all remembered. So it's kind of mastery. Now, the problem with this is, though, that you really have to pass all of them to pass the class. So we'll have some issues that possibly you might not pass one of them. We have some, the department has set up things for that. We've got something called a flex course where you could then get out of this class, go into that one, and they have some other options. We can talk about it at that time. I'm willing to work with you on maybe studying a little bit more, and then maybe retesting, if that will work. But we'll talk about it at the time if it happens. I don't want to build it up too much because hopefully it doesn't happen. It might not. Okay. The other thing is if the test day is coming up and you're not ready, I would rather you tell me, little Crow, I'm not ready. Can I take it next week? Can I, I'll say, yeah, go over the weekend, study. I'd rather you take the time to get ready and pass it the first time. It's easier for you. It's easier for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, if we don't do well on like one of the tests, then you could accommodate to help us so we understand and everything.
Yeah. But I'm going to show you the resources we're going to give you, because before any test, you have all these resources, Matheus, and additionally, I'm going to give you practice tests, and we're going to take a full day to review those practice tests. So when you come into the test, it shouldn't be a surprise. It should be, oh, I see these problems, it's just the numbers are a little different. I know how to do it. The other thing is, I think I can do this. I'm going to do it anyway. I always give you notes when I've ever done, so you can have a page of notes. Now, since these are department tests, they don't want things, information getting out. Any notes you use, I will collect them. So anything taken during the test, I take them back just so that, you don't make some notes on like the answers and sell them on eBay and become rich or something. But so I will collect it, but you will get to use a page of notes. Okay, so you don't have to memorize everything. You just have to have things organized and know how to do it. And again, they're not the questions on the test. I think they're 15 questions. They're multiple choice, which means I give you the right answer. Well, the problem is I gave you 3 wrong answers, and you just got to choose which one's the right one. So recognizing the right answer. So that's what it really breaks down to. 15. I don't give those, but that's good. Yeah, I always hated those. Where you going, oh, all of the above, none of the above. Your mother, no, yeah. But yeah, it's just simple. It'll be four answers that will be realistic type answers, and you just got to choose the right one. Yeah, and we'll work with you. Okay, so that's the goal, is to keep you moving in your career and to give you the basis, because this, along with if you took 081, the arithmetic, this and that together really form the basis of all the mathematics you'll use. I worked with several students going into graduate school, helping them review for the graduate test. And what does the graduate test have on it? The stuff from 081 and 091. It doesn't have the more advanced stuff. It has these 2 things for graduate school. And again, I know you're probably still looking at bachelor's degrees or associate and then maybe bachelor's, but the master's is just one step away. And what you're getting here will allow you to score well on the graduate exam. So that's our goal, again, that you learn. And so I really want you to focus on, I've worked with all sorts of students. Some are meticulously will do every single homework problem and they'll do them 2 or 3 times. I have others that don't do hardly any homework problems. And I've had success and failures from both types of methods and everything in between. All I can say is it depends upon you what you really need to do. How many problems you need to work will depend upon your learning style. Uh, Typically with math, the more you work, the better you're doing. But at the same time, you work too many, you could get really bored and just frustrated, or either frustrated or bored or both, and that's not good either. So we want you to do enough so you can understand, enough so that you retain it. But we don't want to overburden you. We don't want to, and we know you got other classes and such. We want to keep you moving forward. And I like it if everyone gets an A. And again, I'll do my best to make that happen. And again, I don't have any problems with retesting. My goal is that by the time you walk out this door at the end of May or beginning of May, whenever we're done, that you've learned the content. And if you've done that, then I feel perfectly fine in indicating that with a nice grade.
Do you have methods for like people who struggle with like test anxiety and everything?
Sure. Yeah, we're going to talk about that when we get back to because we go to what, 7:15, I think, which typically this is a 4-credit class. It's got the same content as Math092, which is a 3-credit class. So what do we do with the 4th credit? It's an extra hour a week that we get. Should we throw more material in? No. That's what I do, is I teach it as if it were a 92, and I give you an extra hour of tutoring, hands-on work. So the last half hour, we meet twice a week. You can at least the last half hour, we'll have some time to work on things, and sometimes more. And we'll look at the schedule. Sometimes we just kind of I do what we need to do, and if some things we're going to understand fine, some things aren't going to make as much sense and maybe take us more time. We'll go through it. But that's kind of the next thing. I usually get back to you within 24 hours on the weekdays and maybe 48 hours on the weekends, but everything comes to this phone. In fact, it just something came in, so I check it and let's see if it was important. Yeah. But I get messages, and sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I check messages and say, "Oh, here's something to do. Let me just play." So I have surprised people. They go, 2 in the morning, you're answering my math questions? Well, I was what? What else? You know, I got it done. I'm off. But don't expect me to be up at every 2 in the morning. Sometimes I do sleep, but
There was a teacher in one of my hospitality classes that said like, yeah, he checks his email like regularly. Like I said, like calling it is the worst thing in his office because he said he has a phone that doesn't work.
yeah.
But like he said, like I remember answering a student like 2 in the morning. They're like, oh, you're awake. He's like, yeah, I'm awake. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I'll get back to you on your questions. Again, email's really nice, and I'll show you that Matheus has a nice system where you click a button and it emails me. It gives me the question. So all you have to tell me is what you're struggling with. And a lot of times, if you give me enough details, I can say, "Oh, great work, but you just need to take 2 times 3 instead of 2 times 6, or whatever." Sometimes I can see just there's a slight adjustment, and all of a sudden you understand. I had some in my 141 class send it, and she did. She gave me all this stuff, and she was just off by $3 because you had to buy a lottery ticket, and she got the winnings, but you have to subtract what they cost. So it was a kind of a simple. It made sense, but you don't think about these things when you're working a math problem necessarily. You just take all the numbers and you think got to use those. And so, but she gave me enough details. I answered it, and she was right on track then. Okay. Attendance, again, it's important, I think, to come to class. I've had students though that don't come to class all that much, but they engage outside. They can learn on their own. That's fine. But what I'm going to try, because I'm streaming and recording, and those will all be posted, that you have perfect attendance, 100%, one way or the other. So there's 2 ways to be attendant. Actually, there'll be 1 way to verify your attendance. Either way, come to class like you're here, especially first day. It's good to be here. If you're not here, watch the video. And in each class, I will get something like about this time. See, we're about halfway through. We'll get something. Today, I just fell on, let's call it the word of the day. So somebody, do you have an inspirational or some kind of positive, powerful word of the day that we could use for today?
Leaving.
Leaving.
Believing.
Oh, be leaving. I thought leaving, getting out of this class though. Okay. Oh shoot. Did I spell that right? I get I and E's are always hard for me. I'm dyslexic, so but close enough. Okay, so this is our word of the day. Let's see if that shows up. It sort of does. See, is it this one? Yeah, there we go. So it shows up on the video now. So what you'll do is there'll be the video, and then below the video there'll be something called an attendance quiz. And there'll be a question that says the word of the day is believing something. I'll make up 3 other wrong words. And as long as you check on the believing, I know you attended. And again, you'll see it either in the video or from being here. So you might want to write that down in your notes right now so that you don't forget it, because you'll get home, you say, I'll remember that word, believing, right? You'll forget it as soon as you walk out the door. At least I will, but I got it on the video. So that's how we'll record attendance. And I did take attendance, so I got that down. But if you want to, go ahead and do the attendance quiz anyway. And in the future, we'll keep doing that so that I won't physically take roll as you're here, but as long as you've got this, that'll kind of just check in. You're just kind of checking in, making sure you're there. Because what I forgot to mention is to earn an A, I put in this additional requirement that you need to at least get 70% on the homework, but you must have 100% attendance in class. 100%. Isn't 99 good enough? Well, I think we can do this because if you're not here, you can watch the video at some time. And you can fast forward videos, right?
So even when we come to class, we have to when we go home, we got to do the quiz.
Yeah. If you can remember. Well, you know, I'm a real easygoing guy. If something, I come up with these ideas and I just say, let's do this. And then I find out that they don't work so well, we'll change it. But yeah, that's kind of what it's easiest for me if we just have some way of it's always in Canvas, it'll be in there and you'll just be able to see, you're sort of self-verifying your attendance. As long as you can answer, what was the word of the day?
What's the time frame?
Oh, good question. Probably within 10 days. I figure as long as it's done within 10 days, we're good. I'm real lax on these things. I don't have due dates because I figure if you go beyond 10 days, you'll certainly forget, right? But sometimes if I say 2 days, you're going to miss it. So I would just do it as soon as you can. But I'm not really going to worry too much. I don't check into these. I kind of run it and I say you have to do all these things, but I don't enforce. I'm not much of an enforcer, to be honest. Yeah. So, and I'll show you that in a moment. It'll be under modules. You'll see first there'll be a link to the video of the class, so you could click on that, watch the video if you want, or watch portions that you might want. And again, the video itself will have this. And then right below it, it'll say attendance quiz. You click on that, and there'll only be the one question. You choose the right answer.
So do we have to click on believing today, or are we getting our attendance for signing it?
Let's do this. Let's practice. So if everyone can go ahead and go in and click on the believing, that lets me know that it's working. But yeah, I got you down, so it's not like it's going to hurt anybody if you don't. But if you could do it, it's good practice, I think. Okay. So yes and no.
Okay.
I like to answer yes and no at the same time. So far so good.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, we can change this. It's not written in stone. It's just a paper. You can burn it, tear it up, start over again. So that's attendance. And that's the one thing I do the 10 days. If you haven't triggered attendance in 10 days, that's when I may withdraw you. And again, that means that you're not even online or anything. You've disappeared for 10 days. And the thing is what I found is 10 days can quickly become 20, becomes, the semester's over. We do, as a college, start to get in trouble with Veterans Affairs if you're getting money from them, if you're getting money for financial aid, and we said you were in the class all semester, and later on they found out you never were there. They want their money back, and they'll take it out of us. Also, immigration stuff. If you're an international student, you got to be in class, or the visa's out of whack and stuff. And I don't want to mess with those guys anymore. So anyway, but you don't have to physically be here, but at least be online doing these attendance quizzes, working in Math091. Every time you go into Math091, it gives me a login date. And I do look at that. And as long as there's a login date within 10 days, I know you're engaging in the class. Yes.
Are there multiple attempts on the homework?
Oh, yeah. Unlimited, really. So we'll see. Yeah, you'll get through it. So withdrawal policy, you can read about that. So then the last part of the syllabus that's really of any value is the calendar. And this is sort of, again, I don't do due dates, but what I publish is this is sort of a suggested pace. You can work at your own pace, but if it's too slow than this, you won't be ready for the test on time. And, yeah, we can put one off, but, if you get to spring break and you're still not ready for the first test, after spring break, we've got 2 other tests scheduled, and so they can start running together. But I can't allow you to, make adjustments for personal needs and slower, faster. If you wanted to, you could go home tonight and bust out the 12 sections and be done by the weekend. That's okay too. That might be a little overkill, but I mean, I've had, yes, you can work ahead too.
And they'll be on Math091.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go through Math091. But so basically what we have to worry about right now, we'll see. So we have the course introduction, the Vedic math, the learning success. I gave you the way to make a free lunch. And actually on Monday I forgot, we're not really starting. We'll sort of start into lesson 1, maybe halfway through it, but I have a little activity that I find very powerful for learning algebra is I connect it to arithmetic. And just to give you a brief introduction. What's that? 5. It's also called arithmetic. We give you 2 things to do, and there it is. What's that? That's algebra. but notice it's just, okay, I'm looking
for X.
solving for X, which is 3. And so it's sort of what we're doing here, but we do things in different order. So I've got a few ideas of making algebra more like arithmetic. Because when I give it this out, a lot of students, you just saw it. When I do this, or well, I guess I have to do that whole thing. It's a little bit harder because what's that? Because you think of X as being something, but X is just marking a spot. It's just it's just the thing we're looking for. Uh, over here we do this and we know what to do. We fill it in. If I put a blank here, we'd fill it in, but we put a letter and then all of a sudden it seems to have changed. So we're going to do a few things that will hopefully make algebra seem more like the Chinese did. That's what the Chinese would do, is they would do their mathematics, not with variables, not with unknowns, but they would always figure a way to rephrase it so it was always dealing with 2 knowns, okay? Or 3 knowns, whatever, we'll see, okay? And then we'll get through 1, and then 1 and 2 together. Again, I kind of give us some time. We'll just see how long it takes us. If 1 takes us longer, we've got 2, then we've got 3 and 4 together, 4 by itself, and then 2 days to review before the test. And I hope for some of you, you're just getting bored and you say, I don't need to come for the second review day because I've worked so hard and I know this stuff. And I said, great. Stay home on Monday. Don't come to that second review. And some of you are going to say, well, I missed the first review, so I came to the second review. Okay, great. Some of you will want to come to both of them. Okay, so I provide, hopefully, my goal is I provide more than you need so that I can provide exactly so I don't leave anybody behind. Okay, and I let you kind of, keep in track with the recordings. You'll see what goes on in class. You'll know whether you need to be here or not, and whether you can or not. But either way, you're going to be able to keep track of things. Does that sound reasonable? Okay. And then we'll take our unit exam. And I think I might get some things mixed up, but I'm pretty sure each of the exams is 15 questions and multiple choice. You get a page of notes. I'm going to give you questions that are very similar to those 15 questions. And you're going to work them. You're going to work them a second time and a third time until they're just coming out your ears. And then you're going to take the test and you're going to say, man, that was easy. I hope that's the goal.
Right.
Yes.
So, like you mentioned, like the history, like the Chinese people from India, like what did the Greeks contribute to math? I know that.
Absolutely nothing. No, they did. They got a lot of they got a lot of credit for geometry. Yeah, but most of their stuff, the Pythagorean theorem, they were doing that in China thousands of years before Pythagoras. But it's because it's Western culture came out of Greece. So, and the Greece are great people. So I hope I didn't offend anybody who's from Greece. Anyone from Greece? Or Greece? Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. But no, each culture had their mathematics. The Greeks had a rich history. But we'll see that the one that doesn't get talked about much is India, and it's stuff. So where are we going to go next? Oh, how about Matheus? Right? Where am I? Okay, Matheus. There you go. So again, we'll have some time either at the end of class tonight or on Monday if you haven't gotten registered yet. But here's the class. Yeah, I cleared it out, so I think there was before class another 2 people had registered, so I'm keeping track of it. Yes.
I feel kind of sheepish for saying this, but I just realized I'm sitting in the wrong class.
You are?
Yes, that's supposed to be next.
Okay, well, good that you recognize it now. No harm, no foul. Most people just say, oh, little crow, you're, yeah, like I pissed them off or something, so that they just leave. Like it was my fault. So that was good. I'm glad you admitted. Okay. Okay, so 91. So you'll come in here, you'll do the registration thing. The last couple pages of the syllabus are how to register, so follow along those, go to the link. And again, if you have issues, we've got computers here, we'll get you logged in. So I just want to show you what's in there, and then we'll go from there. So you come in here, and I spent a lot of time on this little GIF. It was kind of fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it, those who have registered. If you haven't, maybe you'll just register just so you can see this nice little GIF. So I just took a YouTube video of some fireworks and put some welcome. There's resource materials. click on that. There's some stuff in here. There's the book, again, the full book. So you could just print this off if you want. Again, it probably costs you more than the 22 bucks it costs to buy it, but it's all there. There's some calculator helps, but you know, again, you could take a look. It might be helpful, maybe not. There's some information about tutoring. There's a warm-up section that gets you into using Math.as. It's all optional, and if you find it helpful, great. If you've used Math.as before, it might be a waste of time because you've already done it, but it's there. There is a syllabus again. Sometimes I will double post things. Again, it's what you have here. It's what's in Canvas as well. The main thing that's going to be in here that's not anywhere else is the units. So we've got a Unit 1, Introduction to Variables. This is what we'll start into next week. And if I click on here, what you'll see is that each of they call them units, are kind of similar. So there's the student workbook. So if you don't have it printed already, if you haven't gotten it, you can go here, you can click on this. Oh, what did it do? View and print. Oh, they give you the answers to the U-Try and answers to the practice problems. See, we give you answers. So in the workbook, I'll click on it again, you get what's called there's this place for sort of notes. I usually skip over that because I don't like vocabulary. I like doing things and then figuring out what they mean. But you might be different. So there's these media lessons, and I'm going to show you where those are. So there's videos online. You watch the videos with this sheet, and as they fill stuff in, you fill stuff in. You sort of kind of watch, copy, and learn, hopefully. Make your own notes. So that's what the media lessons are. I'm not going to police it. Some people I know, they will collect these and say you've got to have them out and all this. I don't do that stuff. But you should do it. Okay, I think. Again, you may say, I learn differently, but as long as you're learning, you're fine. But this is one way. They've got examples, so they'll take you through this example. And that's what that's for. They've got these things called U-Tries, and U-Tries are basically what they just did, but they're for you to try. And then they don't do a video of it, but there is the answer for it back in the other link. And then at the very end of this, towards the end or whatever you call the end, there's something called practice problems. Oh, here it is. I'm in it. Sometimes I get, so there's practice problems. What I will do is I will take a lot of these practice problems and I will use them in class as examples. So this is kind of my bank for practice problems. Because there's no videos on these, and so we'll work them in class and do that. There are answers to these, again, in that other link. We come back over here. There's the answers to the practice problem. So if you want to look at these your own, I learned a lot of math by reverse engineering. I looked at the answers, I looked at the question, I said, oh, that's how they came together. Okay, so it's not cheating unless all you're doing is copying them down. But if you're looking at the two and figuring out how they got from the question to the answer or the answer to the question, that's a very valid way to learn. And that's why we give you all these resources. Okay. So the place that you really are supposed to be doing, though, is this online homework. Okay, so this is where I've got it set up. This is where you'll earn the points, the 30 points, is you will complete the homework. Whoa, that's a lot of stuff. 100 points. But you only have to get 70% of it done to get sort of on the board. To get full points, you get 85%. You don't have to do 100%. Just get to 85%. Huh?
We don't need to do all of them.
No, just 85%. So notice the grade at the bottom says 0 out of 100. So when this gets to 85, you got all the points. If you're one that you want to go further and you get it up over, I think I chose 93 as an arbitrary number. Above 93, I'll give you an extra point of one extra credit point, which adds up. I mean, that's 11 points. So, so if you do them all, if you do get the 100%, I'll give you some extra credit. I might make it 2. I'm feeling generous tonight. Why don't we make it 2 points? We'll make it 2 points. Okay, so it's worthwhile to go all the way through.
Does it has video to show the mic?
Yeah, some of these, let me see if I can find one. Some of these questions, this one doesn't. Oh, they took them all out. They said they were going to do that. I don't. They took out all the videos.
Well, then homework.
They're there.
There's no video.
Yeah, they took them out. They're not showing, but I know where they are. Let me see if I can. That's why the other reason I wanted to wait till Thursday. I heard they were going to do that. One of their concerns is that people were just watching the videos and trying to mimic them to do exactly, because a lot of the videos are exactly the same type of or similar problem. What they're finding is in later classes, people want videos that do exactly what the problem was, and if you change a problem a little bit, well, it wasn't exactly like it, and then in the later classes they want you to think through the problem. I think in this class, this is very skill based. That's where the videos are helpful. I will figure out how I can put those back. So there will be, when I find out how to do it, there'll be a link there that says video, so that when you get stuck on a problem, you click on it and you'll be able to work it. The thing is in the mini lessons, those videos, we should have came across that already, shouldn't we? Oh, here, I skipped it. Media lessons. The media lessons are, these videos walk you through. So you'll take the media lesson packet, you'll walk it through, and you'll have worked some examples like the homework. It's just there used to be video links in each of the homeworks that also show you how to do it. And again, for me, I'm going to put them back. I just think that's who I am. Okay, you don't have to use them, but you can. I'll put those in there. But if you're carefully watching through these, you'll have learned all the content. This is what we use for those who have an online class. So some students are, this is all they have. They don't have a class. When you come here, I won't necessarily mimic those because I don't look at those, but I will take those examples and I will show you how I think my way through it, how I work my way through it. So you get maybe two different ways. And between the different ways present, maybe I might present it the same way. 2 + 2 is still 4, right? So there's some things you can't change, but and you'll get to see what works for you. Some people really like the videos. They'll watch them and they learn. And, if you don't have to be in class, it saves you your time. Maybe you're saving some commute time, whatever. I'm learning. As long as you're learning, that's what we're here for. Okay. So, but yeah, there's these videos. So this is sort of the video lessons. And I know they're somewhat tedious, but they do try to keep them not too long. This is 6 minutes. The other one is, oops, what happened? Media lessons. Oh, they started putting some questions in there to kind of test you after. That's interesting. See, I haven't even looked at it. I haven't taught this class since 1846. No. Since spring. It's been a year. So it's last spring I taught this. And they'd made some changes, obviously. So we'll work through it. But again, it doesn't matter so much about how it's presented here. It's the same content we need to learn, and we'll get you through.
So these ones aren't, you don't grade these ones?
No.
You grade the
Yeah. So these are not going to be graded. You can do them, not do them. It won't affect your grade directly. But again, as long as you're finding a way to learn it. Some people just, they got a good tutor at home or something, a husband or wife or brother or sister, friend. That's fine too. Just learn the material. Okay. So media lessons. So basically you'll come in, there's a packet of the workbook, there's a media lessons. You should work through them. And oftentimes you find if you just watch through the videos, it's the least painful way. It kind of works you all the way through. Then you need to do the online homework. Okay. I've got these things down here. The online tests are hidden because nobody ever uses them anyway. But there's this online quiz. It's not really a quiz. There's no points that are going to go in the grade book. It's your quiz if you want to test yourself to see how you do. The other thing, because I know some of you are going to ask this, well, I've had this class before, I know this stuff. Can I just take the quiz and then get the points? Yes, you can. In fact, in my last class, someone's already emailed me. I took the quiz and got 100%. So move on to Unit 2. So the quiz you'll see is shorter.
So the quiz would opt you out of doing the homework.
Got it. You can test out of a unit. Yes, let's put it that way. So yeah, it's only 15 questions, a lot less. Again, there's no videos in here and stuff, but if you know how to do it, here's 15 questions. You do well on it. And you won't have to email me because I'll see it's done. But you can email me and say, hey, I shined. I don't need to do the rest. I'll move on. But I will, when I'm pulling up grades, I will check both. If I see the quiz is completed at 100% or pretty close or 85%, I'll say, okay, instead of the homework, you did the quiz. So you can do the homework or the quiz. Yes.
Yeah, and the quiz, did you have like two tries, or twice?
Actually, you get, I still believe you get 3 tries. Let me put in something here. Let's go this, and we'll submit it. And I
You
know,
have to answer.
yeah, we don't have to answer them all. I'm just gonna mark all of them wrong. And I got that wrong. I don't care. But let me see if let's see, 1.5x. I don't even want to read this, so I'm just gonna try again. I just want to see if I think it'll accept it. And yeah, oh, it's giving me the answers now. So it looks like it gives you 2 tries. Okay, and then it gives you the answers. Yeah, so it wasn't even a number. It was, So now I know what it is. I could go back and do it. But what I have to do now is I have to try a similar question. Now it gives me a revised, and actually it didn't change. It probably changed some numbers in between there or something. Makes it slightly different, but now maybe I know what to do. So yeah, you get 2 attempts. It'll give you the answers after that, and then you can try again. So it's, in a sense, it's not really, it's not a quiz, do you know it or not, but you might use them to learn. Yes.
So is it just like you have one piece of homework or one assignment a week?
That's about it. Yeah, one unit. Some of the units we kind of double dip. We do a little bit of one, and then we start into 2. But I try to pace it out about 1 a week because there's 12 of them, and we've got 15 weeks. So
you could either do 30 questions of the homework, or you can do 15 questions of the quiz.
right. And again, it's up to you. And the homework, if you don't really know it very well and you're just learning it, the homework will probably be better, and I'll put the videos in there. But again, it's up. You guys are pretty ingenious, and there's ways you'll find your ways to learn. And if you're learning it, I'm very happy. So, and I just provide the resources, and as we'll see because I'll get into my final piece. That's really what I want you to do, is determine what works, what doesn't work. And if we're doing something that doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. Heck, half my life I didn't do things right. Maybe more than half of that. But maybe in the next third of the life I'll get it right. So we learn and we move forward and we recover. Okay. So there's the online quiz. So each unit you'll have that. You could jump to the quiz if you want to just let me see how much I know. Oh, I got 50%. Maybe I better work on this other stuff. Ooh, I got 100%. Maybe I really know this stuff. So because what I find in most of you is this one student back when I taught at Oregon State University in the Education Opportunities Program, he says, to me, math is like a road and I got a few potholes. I just want to get those potholes filled. So, perfect. Let's fill those potholes. And we don't need to build a new road. That's what he said. I don't need to tear down the old road. It just needs a few potholes filled. Perfect analogy. And so we work that way. And I bet you most of you have had some of this before. Maybe some of you haven't, but we'll work with you to get what works for you. Okay? Is that good? And then you'll see that, so the first test will be over units 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then there's an online review for units 1, 2, 3, and 4. Click on that. It's a lot of questions, but it's from all 4 units and mixed in there. So that would be a good thing to do. And again, you can do it ahead or whatever you want to do. We'll have you do some of that. I also have some printed reviews. I have some practice tests. You'll know exactly what those tests are going to be like. So there won't be any surprises. That's my goal. That's my promise to you. If there's a surprise, say, hey, little crow, there was a surprise. Of course, I've had some people, I did 2 plus 5 on the practice test, and I did 2 plus 3 on the real test. And he says, it was completely different. I said, come on, just change one number. But, everyone has their opinion. Okay, but I try to do it that way, that I give you enough that you really will know whether you understand or don't, and you'll know when you're ready. And then we test you on the same stuff. Try to make the practices harder than the test. Does that seem reasonable? Because the other way around, then, most people would give you the easy questions to practice and they give you the hard ones on the test. But why were we doing that? So it's just like, you're learning a sport, right? You lift weights until you can lift 100 pounds so that when you compete, you only have to lift 75. It's easy. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. And then we just kind of keep doing it all these times. Incidentally, if you like this little GIF, it's going to go away in about a week. So it'll go, but I can give you a link to it. And then we got units 5 through 8, and then we'll finish up with units 9 through 12. Then we're done. Again, no comprehensive final, just 3 tests along the way. When they're done, they're done. We're done with that content. All the resources in here. And again, the idea is that you, and notice I moved the calendar to the bottom because I don't really do that. That's where you put due dates and stuff. I don't have due dates on anything, which means it's always open all the time. You work at your pace, at your timing, and nothing's ever going to close out on you. You can work one, and if you got and you want to go back and practice, you can go do that. Okay, no harm, no foul.
Regularly, the tests are 30 minutes, so there's no limit.
Right. These tests are unlimited, no time. The quizzes, at least, that I've got for you. And, even the tests we'll take in class. Let's see, what did we schedule? I forgot what I put on the syllabus. I got a syllabus here. What did we say as far as the test days? When we have an exam, we have the full class period. So we got 2 hours to take 15 questions. So you will have plenty of time. If you need more, I'll stay late. I don't have anything after this, but most of you will probably be busting them out in 30 or 40 minutes. But if you need more, you got it.
The exams are on there too?
No, they will be paper exams here
Okay.
in class. So that's the one thing that, and I give you those early so that you'll be here. If you're not going to be here for whatever reason, email me, get a hold of me. We can make arrangements, have you take it through the testing center or something. Yes.
Or accommodations on are we allowed to do that test schedule it for another time?
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. I think that's it. So now. So maybe half an hour. There we go. Oops, that's not it. There we go. Scoot this over a little bit. There you go. Okay, so this is I didn't bring the worksheets. Okay, this is the activity where you actually get the 40 points. What I'm going to do with this is as you look through this activity, 20, 25 minutes, just think of anything. You can take notes if you like. You will give me a 1-paragraph response or more. That's okay. You can always do more, right? 1 paragraph. And how long is a paragraph?
5 sentences. Yeah.
Who's your English teacher? 3 to 5. That's what I always figured. So I always went with 3. So at least 3. You could go 5 if you want, but 3 to 5 sentences. Yeah, 3 sentences. Or again, you can write more, but at least 3 sentences. Find something. I just want you to give me an impression of what is your impression of what we went over today. I'm going to show you why there's 60 seconds in a minute, how different cultures use their hands for doing math, a lot of different things that kind of go along with this nice little activity here. So all you'll do this. What I will do is it might not be immediate, but in Canvas, right underneath the video, there'll be the attendance quiz, and then there'll be a link to an assignment that says a box for you to type in, or you can upload a file if you want to do it with Word or something. So just take a few notes, write a few things down of things that you found interesting or extremely boring. I guess I don't want to poison anybody's, get you thinking it has to be something you like. You might not like any of it, but let me know what your impressions are. Let's put it that way. On, yeah, on what we're going to talk about. Or if you can talk about this too, because this was sort of part of it. I started with it. So anything that you found interesting, uh, just let me know. Because I kind of take their feedback and then I say, should I do this again? And most people like this part and they like the other stuff too. But I like to see what you found of interest. Okay. So let's go here. I don't have the sound working, so let's go to the next. Um, this is my wife and I started a nonprofit called Open Global Village. So you may see some of this. We kind of branded it's an education nonprofit. We set it up to do our education abroad program to Thailand. What we did back in 2011 and 12, it's been a while, but for 2 years in a row, we took students from Scottsdale Community College and actually ASU too. We're going into elementary ed. We took them over to Thailand. That's where my wife's from, and we put them into schools in Thailand for 3 weeks and they taught English, math. They worked with the teachers there. What the goal was is that they would see how culture affects education, how things are different in different cultures. And the best way to find out about culture is to get out of the own culture that you're in. When you're in a dominant culture, whether you're a part of it or not, it's sometimes hard to see your own culture. If you're not in a dominant, if you're being dominated by another culture, you see it every day. But if you're part of the dominant culture, you know, you just see things, you don't see it as culture, you just see it as life. You go to somebody else's dominant culture, you start to see how your culture and their cultures are different. And then you start maybe get fellow feeling and understanding of others. So it was a great program. My wife's now working on a master's degree at ASU. She was a student here. So this is where she started with the ESL classes because, again, coming from, English is not her first
My
language.
mom does English as a second language too. So
Very
she
good.
teaches students from all over Latin America.
Excellent. So that's great. So this is the motivation we have is we're looking at kind of a world education. Uh, I'm going to skip over this one. Yeah, that's not really that interesting for what we want to talk about. So now, when we went to Thailand, here's this. Kofi Annan was a Secretary General of the United Nations a few years back. There's a new one now. I haven't kept up, but because I like Kofi Annan, he's cool. And I found out from one of my students in the other class, he's actually from Ghana. I think I may have known that, but she was from Ghana, so she said that. And actually, my mentor at Oregon State was from Ghana, so she, the first that gave me my first job. So maybe I got to go to Ghana someday. I think so. Anyway, he says that human development is about empowering people through education, through opportunity, through healthcare. So this is what we're doing here with education. And the goal is that everyone is able to live a healthy, knowledgeable, and creative life. It seems simple enough, right? Um, well, the king of Thailand, and I saw this on my first trip over there. Well, actually, it wasn't the first trip, but when we were going for the first project. Actually, the first trip was in 1980 because my best friend lived with me. He was from Thailand. He lived with me during high school. After high school, I went and lived with his family for a summer. And then about 20 years later, he introduced me to my wife. So there's my connections. But it wasn't until I went on the projects that I started watching about the king. And anyway, this is a king receiving the first ever, and actually what I can find the only ever, Lifetime Achievement Award for Human Development. And these are the words that Kofi Annan had to say about it. He says, as the world's development king, Your Majesty has reached out to the poorest and the most vulnerable people of Thailand, regardless of their status, ethnicity, or religion, listen to their problems and empower them to take their lives into their own hands. And he really did this. I saw this in the newsreel type thing. In the 50s, they had this thing in Thailand called, it was the outbreak of leprosy. You know what leprosy is. Yeah,
Skin disease,
yeah, your nose falls off. It's really terrible. It's highly contagious at that time. Well, what was happening was the children of if you were a child and your parents had leprosy, you were not allowed in schools because they were afraid you were going to give it to people. The king took money out of his own pocket and he realized what the people were feeling. He opened up a school for the children of who had parents who had leprosy. But he did more than that. He was actually there for the opening of the school. He touched the children to show everyone these kids have been, they don't have leprosy. Their parents do. We still have to give them opportunity. And on top of that, he traveled to the north. He traveled to all parts of the kingdom to visit everyday people, and that's why they came to love him so much. He passed away last year, after reigning for almost 70 years, 60, he's from age 19 to maybe 60 years. But he was the longest reigning monarch, and his son's now on the throne, so we hope we see him doing some of the same types of stuff. But um, this is the kind of work we're interested in. But it was also his work in education. He had a different paradigm of thinking about learning. And so I want to share a little bit of this with you. He starts with that when you start out as a student, it's a determination with faith. You know, you have to believe that coming to school is going to make a difference in your life. That's why you're here, right? You didn't come here because you just didn't have anything better to do, right?
Right.
I could be in bed right now, right? That's better. I could be watching, I don't know, whatever show. But you're here because you believe that coming to school is going to allow you to have more impact in the world. It's going to allow you to give more to your family, to yourself, whatever. You got that. That's where it starts, is this faith. And then it goes to seeking knowledge with morality. So not just getting knowledge, but having it in a way that benefits humankind. So this was and again, my major is in education, but I hadn't gotten stuff like this, thinking about education as being a moral imperative, almost like a what do they call, I don't know, but that education itself could really help the world be a better place. Um, and then use that knowledge wisely. If you don't use it, it's not good. And if you don't use it wisely, what good is that? And then keep on going and sort of lifelong learning. Uh, what I'm going to kind of focus on is the part of number 2 of seeking knowledge. He breaks it down that we learn from others' acquired knowledge, and I'm going to show you that this came from other people, their acquired knowledge. We learned that, but then what we do is we contemplate by ourselves. So I learned that from a book about somebody came up with, but until I wasn't able to do it real well until I really thought about it, practiced it. So contemplating and practicing, those are the things that are needed. And then we develop ourselves, and we have something we own. And so it's not, sometimes in teaching, I wonder what I'm doing. It's like I teach this, I spit out some information to you all, and then I give you a test to see if you learned it. And then I give a test, and sometimes it feels like sometimes we're giving you a test to try to trick you, to see, make it tricky to learn. And it seems like this whole system, rather when it should be about helping people to develop themselves to the best they can be. And so I always come back to this because, again, especially teaching math, it gets sometimes broken down to skills and did you get this number right or that number right, and, so it helps remind me of what we're trying to do. Yeah, let's go to this. And this is sort of the key way of working, as you said, those who have stress. Uh, the reason many of us have stress when dealing with math, especially, this is some research that I found out, is that when we take in word problems, especially math word problems, where do they go? They go to a place called the amygdala. The amygdala is a little part of the brain. Here it is down here. It's like right there. I'm going to show you a map of the brain, and you'll see what the amygdala is responsible for. Well, forgot, different part. The research first. The research found that when you take in a math problem, this is what it's saying, it goes into the amygdala. What happens for many of us, we remember that time in 3rd grade when the teacher made us come to the board and we pissed in our pants. Oh, I'm sorry, that was me. No, we did something that was embarrassing or something, and that's what we remember. And then we're thinking about that. We can't do the problem because there's all this, they laughed at me and those kids, and we're a 3-year-old again, or whatever it was that happened to us. That emotion's going on, and we're not able to get it to the part of the brain that allows us to work with it. The good news is that the research also found that the people who have this stress reaction that affects the most could also become the most enthusiastic about math if we were able to get past the amygdala. Because the reason we're stressed out is because we care. And I put myself in that set. I didn't finish math. I didn't take math my senior year of high school. I was my junior level math teacher was I thought he was picking on me. I don't know. He said he wasn't, but I just dropped his class. I said, I'll teach you. I ain't taking math ever again. I wasn't going to go to college because I thought I knew better. And friend had a good paying job for me. Unfortunately, it was digging ditches, and he was a big guy and I wasn't. So for me, digging ditches was really hard work. And so I took my dad up on his offer that if I went to college, he'd let me live at home. If I wanted to dig digits, I had to go find my own place. So anyway, I went back to school. And then I learned math, but it was not many math classes I had to take 2 times. But I learned how to get through it. Okay. Here's the thing with the brain. So the amygdala is down here. That's the emotional memory. The amygdala controls the emotional memory. And when it gets active, it's because we're ruminating about the past. We're remembering those past bad, and usually it's not, I suppose it could be good, but usually it's not. And then things get stuck there. Okay, they're stuck there. But up here is where you need to process mental math, this side of the brain. And what I noticed, actually a student noticed, is right next to the brain, or math part, is fingers. So how many of you use your fingers to do math? How many have been told don't use your fingers to do math? Yeah, like slap your hand or something, But here it is. It might be, and I'm going to show you a few techniques. I believe it's the technique that gets it from the amygdala, at least to a part of the brain, because as soon as I start moving my fingers, my brain has to go into activity up here. And if I got activity up here, what do I need to do? 1 step over and I'm into the math part. Okay. The same thing happens when I'm on, where am I? The left side or the right side of the brain. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. The left side of the brain. Again, the emotional memory down here, the amygdala, and then math symbols are up here. And again, the fingers are right there, even next to the math symbols. So the problem is in school, we were taught to just sit and be quiet, right? If you weren't sitting and being quiet, you were sent to the principal's office, or like me, you were sent out of the class so that you couldn't learn. You had to sit out there and go, oh, I wonder why I'm here. I was that kid. You ever have like in 3rd grade, you go to lunch and they go wash their hands, and you have that one kid that when he went into the bathroom, he just yelled and got everyone else in trouble? I was that kid. I didn't know I was that kid for a while because I didn't realize I was the one that was yelling. I said, why is that guy yelling? And then one day I realized it's me, but none of my friends told on me. And so they would take the punishment with me because I would say nobody did it. Finally, I figured out I was doing it. So I stopped and my friend said, thanks. We got tired of sitting outside during lunch. But, that's what we do when actually we should be making our students move around. We should be encouraging them to fidget and use their hands because that's going to help. That's the way the brain works. Most of the brain is for action.
Social development too.
It's social development, yes. So we'll see about that. Anyway, so let's see if I go forward. There's different ways of using the hand. So this is just going to be a basic way. And I want you to understand this by doing an activity, actually activating the brain. So I'm going to count. And as I count, if you'll count along with me with your hand, however you usually do, I'm going to hide my hand so nobody can copy my patented method. And then I'm going to stop at a number. If you'll freeze, so we'll look at each other's hands and we'll see the different ways there are of counting. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. All right, we're from the same tribe. Okay, you got the other side, you're going up that way. You're going up with the thumb. So there's 2 ways, going up with the thumb, going up this way, and going up in the middle. What else do we got going on here? Okay, we got that. I don't see, let's see, anyone? I don't see the special one. I saw this last class. Some people go like this and the sort of counting, and especially if you've done like sign language, they'll do something like this. But watch this. This is from some research that was done on different groups of people and how they count. So if you went up with the thumb, that's tribe A. They're counting up to 5. But look what tribe B did. Tribe B starts with this is 0, and they count down to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 for B. This is 5 for A. So can you see the cultural differences? Tribe B is on one side of the river. The guy wakes up, says, send me over 5 fish. To the guy from tribe A. Tribe A says, that guy's not hungry. I'm not sending him any fish. And they go to war over it because there's this misunderstanding. Is this 5 or is this 5? Seems simple, but can you see how it would hurt communication? C is sort of the counting one. You put a finger down, and then when it's done, you go up. So there's that way of sort of counting. And then tribe D is, you hold down and you go through the middle. Different ways. And there's more than that, but those are just a few examples. The thing is most of us were counting with a whole finger. That's very inefficient because each finger actually could be used for more than one, right? Do you see some things? And on the back side, you see some knuckles. So there's other cultures that have taken advantage of this. And so here on one hand, we can get 3 on each finger, 2 on the thumb, so you get 14. You got 14 on one hand, 14 on the other. How much do you have in total? 28. Where do we see the number 28? In nature. In, think Valentine's Day. February on the calendar. February is a leftover from a lunar counting system. The Romans came up with a solar system because the sun was their god. Many cultures use the moon because you can see a full moon, and then that's 28 days later you see another full moon, right? In Indochina, they use this system because that's the way they did their calendar. But in Indochina, what was important when having children wasn't that necessarily the date of birth, they would record that, but it was the date of conception. Well, how do you know when the baby was conceived? Well, a woman would watch when her menstrual cycle ended or stopped. She would take a ribbon and put that around the finger of the day. You know, this is a calendar, a 28-day calendar. And then the next, a whole month would go. And if she didn't get her menstrual cycle back at that marked day, then she knows she got pregnant, and then she could think back maybe when she had relations, so they might be able to actually pinpoint the night of conception. But using the hands as a calendar, 28, it's very ingenious. Other cultures use the back using the knuckles. You can count up to 20, and there's various mathematical systems that have a base of 20, where 20 is a complete, 20 is their 10. The islands, you don't need to wear shoes because you got nice soft sand to walk on. So you can use your fingers and toes. And again, there's Polynesian societies where they're numbered, their math system ties in the names of the fingers and the toes with the numbers. And there was a one-to-one correspondence, counting to 20. How many of you know why there's 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour? How many of you thought of that? You ever think it was kind of weird? Why 60? I always did because it was always hard to do math with time. You can't just add it up, right? You can't just plug it in the calculator, 245 plus 115. No, it doesn't work because of that 60 minutes. It should be like 100 minutes in an hour. Well, the reason is because the people who came up with the clock were the Babylonians, the British, the Americans, the English speakers. So as we come through here, and what they counted is they didn't do 14 because they used the thumb as a tool. Maybe while they were counting their sheep, you can count and you can feel those lines. You can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they would group things by 12 simply because that is how they counted. A dozen donuts, a dozen roses, a dozen eggs. You see it all over the place here in the US. How many of you have traveled outside the country? When you go someplace else, when you buy your eggs, do you buy 12 eggs? I don't know, you never bought it. You don't. You buy them in what? 10. I go to Thailand, the market, everything's grouped in 10s, not 12s. You go, weird. How do I buy my dozen donuts or dozen eggs or dozen roses or something? You don't. You buy them in groups of 10. Okay, that's the way it is all over the world. I taught in Kazakhstan, which is actually an Asian country, but it's in the. I was right on the border of Europe and Asia, the Oral River, and everything was grouped in 10s. Went down to buy the eggs, 10 eggs. Interesting. But we counted to 12. But the real thing is that where does a 60 come from? What about this hand? 5 fingers, so 5 12s, 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. So the mathematics of the number of 60 has come out of this, and that's why there's 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 360 degrees in a circle, which is 6 60s. You'll see it all over trigonometry, which comes from the Babylonians. And it's just the way they use their hands. They had a different math. And sometimes we just thought math was math, right? It was all the same thing, but it was invented by different people. The math of time is very different than the math that came out of India. Okay. And just looking at language, I look at Asian languages. Here's the Thai language I'm very familiar with. The first 10 numbers, and most people, if you learn a language, you learn up to 10 and then you stop. But where you really find the mathematics is when you find out what's the number after 10. In our language, well, we'll get to English next, but in all Asian languages, you look at the word for 10, in Thai is sip, and the word for the number after 10 would have the word for 10 with one more, and they have sip et. Now, it's one is nung, but oftentimes languages will change what one looks like when it's combined with something else. So in Thai, it's just easier to say sip et instead of sip nung. But they could use both. But then you see sip song, which is literally 10 with two more, sip sam, 10 with three more, so forth. Perfectly base 10. All Asian language. I've had students from Japan, from China. I don't know those languages, but they verified to me that that's the way it is. English. We get to 10. The word for 10 is 10, right? That's what we're used to. But what's the word after that? Do you see the word for 10 and the word for 11? No, I don't. I've read things that say, oh, in the old language, it kind of sort of means that. I said, what? It's not there. 12, it's not there. But you get to 13. It's sort of a 10, right? We get to the teens. It's sort of a 3 with, 10 with three more. It's kind of backwards, though. That's the other problem. Have any of you had any problems like we had 13 and 30? Because they sound almost the same, don't they? 13, 30. Growing up, when you're first learning these things, it's hard. So English is a very hard language to deal with math. When I was a kid, I came up with the number 11 mostly because my mom says when you're a teenager, you will get to stay up later. I said, Mom, I'm 11 I'm a teenager. She didn't like it.
One time when I was learning time, like 12 o'clock, instead of 12 o'clock, and I said 13 o'clock, and then my mom corrected me, was like, no, it actually is if you look at military times.
It's true. It's true. So different ways, but English is a hard number, and so there's a few issues with it. One of them is that 11 and 12 don't follow. It's not a base 10 language. How about Spanish? Anyone Spanish speakers here? Okay. Where does the 10 appear in Spanish? 10 is diez, and I apologize for my terrible accent. But 11 is not desde once or desde uno or something. It's just once. And you go up the way to 15 and you never see the 10. When do you first see the 10? When you get to the 16, desde seis. Literally 10 with 6, right? But the previous ones don't. And why not? Well, in Hispanic culture, what's so big deal about 15? Yeah, everyone knows this. Kids, yeah, it's when a girl becomes a woman. And I don't know what happens with men. Do men have anything that's like that? But maybe not. There's enough things in men, right? They don't need anything. But it's embedded in the culture. They've left it in their number system. And if you look at kind of what I skipped over, if you look at the international tests of mathematics performance, especially like up to 4th grade, Asian countries will score much higher than English-speaking or Spanish-speaking cultures. The language that's what I pinpointed at. The language, we're expecting everybody to work with a base 10 number system, but some of us are working from a language that is not base 10. And it affects the younger kids the most because it doesn't make sense. And they just tell you, oh, just accept it. And that's where, when I, crushed me, 11, the number system never made what. But the good news is I work a lot with native educational systems. And what we found is that there has been a revitalization to use native languages in their education systems. What they found is sort of a offshoot. They did nothing different with the math except to teach it in the native language. And what they have found is that the math got better. I just sort of accepted. I said, that's kind of interesting. But what I've seen is like, this is the Yaqui language. I work with the Pasca Yaqui. You look at 10, Womani, and again, I apologize for but then 11 is Womani Anasuna. So literally 10 with one more. It has the base 10 in there. So if we're, the Pasca Yaqui, some of their high school students are struggling with the math. My suggestion is the more we work with the native language, I bet you they'll do better in math just because they're seeing the structure of the language. In my people's native language, Chippewa, you look at 10 as Madaswi, and then 11, Madaswi Ashe Bijwit, literally 10 with one more. So it was a language that's base 10. There's also, or I don't know if evidence, but some people say that many of the Native Americans came from Asia. There's also stories, like in Thailand, that some of the people from the Northeast, they went to America thousands of years ago. So on both continents, there's some talk. Some people say, no, we were always here. There's some indications, where you came from, but there's some indications that there was some mix. And if you take my 141 class, I do a little bit kind of on the archaeological math, and you'll see that if you look down in Peru where the Incas were, they actually had two number systems, one a base 12, one a base 20, and one a base 10. And there's evidence of Chinese, there's Chinese-like anchor rocks out in the ocean, just outside of Peru. So there's evidence that some people say the Chinese ships couldn't have got there. But again, and there's DNA evidence in some of those people that show an Asian DNA. Interesting stuff, again, how math can connect to all these different things. Yeah, see, that's my problem. This was part of a presentation that I had 6 hours to do. I put it down to try to make it into like 20 minutes, but it never works. But you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I guess what I'm going to say is, since we do have a little bit of time on Monday, I'll bring in a few other things. But what I want to leave you with tonight is this idea. How many of you have seen a map like this? Where's America, right? You have. If you're on that side of the world, this is maybe the normal view. Usually we see the globe. It's always got to have North America right there in the front and center, which is fine. It does exist. It's not, and there were people over there at this time. This is like 475 or AD. But when you look at it this way, I found this one. What's the center of this known world? What's the center of this sort of? I know it's a couple continents. There's Africa there. There's Australia down there. There's China up and above. There's Europe. But look at right in the middle, sort of, is India. And I've read some other stuff showing how India's culture, the Hindu culture, the Sanskrit has the language has reaching way up into the north and off to the south. And when I looked at mathematics, I looked at numbers. I started with I take you back to Thailand. I looked at Thai numbers and I thought, Thailand has invented their own math. This is really cool. When I went back there, I was going to look into how the Thais made their own mathematics. But what I found was they went to India to get their mathematics. It was a Southern School of Math in India. And the numbers are used the same in Thailand, Cambodia. It's a similar type script. And so that's it. And then when I looked at like the Arabs, they didn't do their own math. They went to India in a northern school. So India was a central place for at least mathematics. It's the birthplace of modern mathematics. Now, things recycle, so maybe there was other mathematics. The Mayans and Aztecs had a great mathematics that was a base 20, but it's different than what we're using today. The modern mathematics owes its birthplace to India. And there's some great mathematics all over. The Babylonians are looking at, if you do trigonometry like the Babylonians do, it actually works better. So if you use their number system, if you use an indigenous number system to do that type of math, it works. The problem is we're teaching you a language, English or Spanish, that is not indigenous to the mathematics that's being used. And so that's a difficulty, but it's one we can overcome. And I think the first thing is, let's call it what it is. The language is giving us the difficulties. But as we overcome this, as we spot it out, we'll be able to use this base 10. And in India, everything was base 10, and they had some really nice tricks. I'm going to leave you with one more, because I think you can probably pick this up. And it's when you go to India, they have this thing called Vedic math, and they have workshops, and they say on the sign, can you do this problem in 5 seconds or less? What do you think? Could you do that with no calculator? Could you do that in 5 seconds or less? Would you like to see how to do that in 5 seconds or less? Okay. Because if you said no, I'd let you go. But, okay. Because you're thinking, I got to take 7 times 8, write it down. 7 times 9, write it down. 7 times this, write it down. I got to do this and this and this and this and this and this, and then I got to add them all together, and that's how I get my answer, right? That's how we were taught. That's the hard way. What's the easy way? The easy way is to recognize that these two numbers are really close to another number. What number are they close to? Three digits. You're on the right track. 1,000. They're close to 1,000. And if I asked you to take 1,000 times 1,000, what would you do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? This is going to be almost as easy. What we do is we figure how far from 1,000 is this? It's missing 2, right? That was pretty easy to spot. How much is this missing? 3. What we're going to do is we're going to multiply these deficiencies. So what's 2 times 3? 6. Since it's 1,000, it needs 3 digits. And again, I could teach you this in about a couple hours where you could do a lot of these, but I just want to show you how we're going to come up with the right answer fairly easily. So that's the back part of the answer. The front part of the answer, you cross subtract. So you either take 998 minus 3, which is 995. This is the cool part. Or you take 997 minus 2, which is actually the same answer. So you could do it either way. And the answer to 998 times 997 is 995, 0036. And if you got a calculator, you could verify that, but it works. And what they do in India is they teach them this trick. And so kids can multiply very large numbers as long as it's close to a base, like 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000. You could do that. And then there's other tricks to do if it's halfway there, because you multiply and then you take half of it. But they can do all of this mentally. And again, it's not so much because they think you need to multiply these big numbers, but it's because the mathematics, by doing this, it helps develop the mind's thinking. It helps develop mathematical power. It helps you feel good about yourself. And that's what I hope happens this semester, is that you learn math successfully, deeply, stress-free, or at least lower stress, and you move on in your career, and you find and develop new ways of doing things, and you make our world a better place. Because if you guys do that, I have 28 of you, I can relax on the beach, sip my, no, I don't, 7-Up. I'll go 7-Up, Diet 7-Up. I got to get Diet, something. Anyway, I can enjoy it. So that's the goal. So if you can, by Monday, get logged into Matheus, take a look at it. You don't have to do anything yet, but just look at it. Later tonight, I will have the video recorded. I'll have it up on Canvas. We'll have a little or quiz that says, what's the word of the day? Believing. You'll choose that. And then if you write a little paragraph about anything that was interesting tonight, whatever it was, there's 40 points, right? Extra credit. Well, we'll make it extra credit.
Submit that through Matheus or
Canvas.
Canvas?
And what I'm going to do is when I have it ready, I will send an announcement, so you should get an email on that. So don't worry about it. If you don't see it, it's because I haven't sent out the announcement.
I saw the announcement and everything, but I didn't go to my